Hello, I'm Dr. Paul Isely.
And I'm Dr. Kuhelika from Seidman College of Business at Grand Valley State University, and we are here today to present the mid-year economic update. This is what we presented at the beginning of the year, but since then, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia caused significant economic hardships, especially in terms of elevated inflationary pressures. The economic implications remain fairly uncertain.
So what's happened with those inflationary issues is at the beginning of the year, we were seeing inflation being composed of two components. The first of these components was a demand side because of the excess stimulus that was put into the economy at the beginning of 2021. The second thing that we saw was supply side, and that's because of all the changes in the supply systems because of COVID. All right, combined, that gave us a 6% increase to 6.5% increase. But the Ukraine has affected things in two ways. The first of these ways is through food inflation. We were expecting about 5% inflation. We're seeing about 8 to 9% of inflation, most of that because of the Ukraine. The second place is here in energy prices. We were expecting a slow drift upward in energy prices during the course of 2022. Now we've all seen that big jump that happened as the Ukrainian invasion happened. The combination of those two has added 2 percentage points to our inflationary pressure.
The Federal Reserve is committed to its dual mandate of full employment and price stability, meaning inflation at around 2% in the long run. However, with the current elevated inflationary pressures, especially stemming from core inflation, we expect the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates by about 175 to 225 basis points going forward, which is almost a 100 basis point interest rate increase compared to what we forecasted at the beginning of the year. Now, sure, this will keep inflation in the same range as we forecasted at the beginning of the year, which is about 6.5% to 7%, and put a soft ceiling on inflation there. However, we do expect some slack and some slowdown in the real economy.
Yeah, so we can see that most readily in employment growth here in West Michigan. Right now, as we go through the first part of the year, we've been averaging at an annualized rate close to that 3.2% growth. But what we expect is that we're already seeing changes in people's consumption behavior. We're already seeing changes in businesses' investment behavior. And we're already seeing businesses tied very closely to mortgage that are already having to do layoffs here in Michigan. As a result, we are seeing that our employment growth will be on the bottom end of this range by the time we reach the end of this year. So we're not changing the range, but we're expecting that employment and sales growth will now be on the bottom end of the range that we stated at the beginning of the year. So given this slowdown, what are our expectations for a recession as we go into 2023?
So the volatility from the Russia-Ukraine war and the supply chain disruptions has increased the probability of an economic downturn. And the more aggressively Federal Reserve increases interest rates, higher is the probability of the economic downturn. However, the Federal Reserve will be willing to adjust the stance of monetary policy should the economic situation warrant.
Thank you.
Thank you.